Good morning, students. This is Sunny, your computer teacher. Welcome to our computer class. I'm sure you would have all enjoyed your vacation, and I'm also sure that most of you, all of you rather, would have completed your homework. So we have come back to our class now. So I'm sure all of you are fresh. So let's start with a new chapter. So students, we are going to move to chapter number 4 because chapter 2 and 3 requires practical classes. Chapter 4 is more about the theory, and then we will not start with chapter 5. We'll start with some other chapter which has the basic of theory, and then we are going to, when the school reopens, we will do the practical chapter so that you get the understanding of both the theory as well as the practical. So we will start up our day with our chapter 4, and that is HTML, understanding HTML. So before starting, let's try to understand what the internet is. Now, the internet has become a vital part of our life. We all know that without internet, we surviving of humanity at this point of time would be little difficult, not completely difficult, but little difficult. So internet has become the part of our life. Now, when we talk about internet, there are two things we talk about here. The first thing is the server. Now, what is a server? Server is the computer on the network which shares data or information. Now, what is a server? Not necessary that the server has to be a huge bulky machine. It can be a simple desktop which has the capabilities of controlling the other systems. Then you can call it as the server. The second thing which is required here is a client. Now, what is a client? Client is a computer which accesses data or information, or in other words, which takes the services of the server, which uses the services of the server. It is called as client. Now, similarly, there is another terminology which we come across very widely, that is the websites. Now, what is a website and what is a web page? Now, students, you can see that this is a book, right? And what is this? This is a page. So we have a book and we have a page. Similarly, we have a website, we have a web page and a website. Now, what is a web page and what is a website? A website is a collection of web pages. Very simple. Now, what is a web page then? A web page is the, you can call it a website which carries text, graphics, videos and other information on the internet. That is called as websites, web pages, right? Now, what happens when we click on any of these links? For example, if there is a link there, if we click on it, it takes us to the other page. So what web page also does is it interlinks the pages together, and that forms a website. So millions of pages when combined together will form a website. Next, we are going to talk about HTML. So let's do a quick introduction and try to understand what do we know about HTML. Now, HTML, this programming language was developed by Tim Berners-Lee. Now, Tim Berners-Lee also invented www. Now, what is the full form of www? Right. If you have said World Wide Web, then your answer is correct. www stands for World Wide Web. Now, next thing is that Tim Berners-Lee was doing a research at CERN, which is in Geneva, Switzerland. Geneva is the name of the city and Switzerland is the name of the country. This country is located in the European continent. Now, what is this CERN? CERN actually is an institute which carries a scientific researches. To be very specific, they carry nuclear related researches. So nuclear medicines, nuclear technology, nuclear weapons, all these kind of researches is done at CERN. Now, what is the full form of CERN? The full form of CERN is a little difficult. I have just wrote it down here. So you'll find the French words coming here. The pronunciation is little French. So you might find it a little different when compared to the common English. I'll read it out to you. It is Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire. I'll repeat. It is Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire. So that is CERN. So you can find the French pronunciations here. Now what is HTML used for? HTML is used for creating web pages. So all the web pages we create, we use the HTML language. We'll move to the next slide. Now what is HTML as a definition? Now hypertext markup language is a computer language which is used to create web pages. We know that Tim Berners-Lee and his team was behind this contribution, and it was developed at CERN, which is in Geneva, Switzerland. Now HTML describes the content format and layout in which a web page should be displayed over the World Wide Web. So what it means, it is a set of rules how the picture will display, how the text will display. If you want to put a bullet point, what should be the rule? All these rules which we form and we bring together, that brings us to HTML. Now what is let's break this word HTML, hypertext markup language, into three different words. Now what is hypertext? That is the text on the web page. So whatever letters, alphabets and special characters you see, that those are considered as text on the web page. Second is the markup. Now what is a markup? Markup is highlighting or displaying text in colors. Now you would have seen in certain websites they use different colors to put the headline, they use different colors to put the content. There is a different color to underline certain things. There is a different color to a special word or a letter or a character. So that means that the markup feature is used from the HTML to do this. Now what is a language? Language, as simple, is a mode of communication between web pages. So each command which you are going to enter, that's going to connect with the tags in HTML. What is tags? We are going to learn it in our next slide. What are HTML tags? Now HTML tags, these are tag based languages. Now which comprises, now what are tag based languages? Tag means that every time you enter a rule or a syntax, you will be using a greater than sign and lesser than sign. Now this greater than sign and lesser than sign is called as angle bracket. So every time we use the left pointed sign, we will term it as open angle bracket, and the one which the right hand side, we will term it as the closed angle bracket. So every time we will be using tags, not every time, sometimes we will be using certain tags in which we will be using angle brackets. Now what does this do? Now this follows a specific rules as a syntax. So each tag here has got certain value, certain rules which it has to follow and can be used specifically only for that purpose. Now the best thing about HTML tag is that it is not case sensitive. Now what does this mean? It is not case sensitive. That means when we will be writing commands in between the angle bracket, it is not necessary that you have to write it in capital letters or lower letter, or your first letter should be capital, the rest should be lowercase. It's not the case. You can use either uppercase or lowercase to write the syntax. So this is our HTML tag. Now HTML tags are divided into two categories. What are these two categories? The first one is the container tag and second one is the empty tag. Now what is a container tag? Container tag requires an opening and closing of tag. Now here we are talking about angle bracket. We will be using an open angle bracket and the closing of angle bracket, so to form this tag. Whenever like let's take an example, if you have written a syntax, let's say A, anchor tag. If you have written A and if you put angle bracket open and angle bracket close just after A, then that would be considered as container tag. Now what is empty tag? The tag which doesn't use this angle bracket is called as an empty tag. It is also called as the open tag. These are called as the empty tags. Now what are these? How we are going to use it? What is, when it is used? All this we will discuss it later in the chapter. Right now I just want you to understand that there are only two types of tags. One has got the opening and closing of angle bracket and the other one doesn't have any angle bracket. We'll move further. Now next comes is the HTML editors. Now students, when we are talking about HTML editors, we have to ensure that we have some kind of language, we have some kind of platform to develop our web pages or websites. Now in large organization, in big organizations, let's say Tata Motors, let's say Maruti Suzuki, let's say Toyota, all these companies doesn't have time, their engineers or the team or the employees don't have time to sit and write the complete format for the website. So if they do it, it would take load and loads of time to finish the project, and by the time they finish it, they might end up in making some kind of error because you are using thousands and millions of tags and syntaxes and rules and text and colors all mixed together to form a website. So for that, there is a option which is called as WYSIWYG. Now what is this? I am going to tell you a little later. So right now we should understand that HTML editors is a software which is used to create HTML documents. These are of two types. One is the text editors and the second is WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get. I repeat, what you see is what you get. Now in this chapter, we will not be learning about what you see is what you get. We will be only learning about text editors. Why will we not learn about WYSIWYG? It is for a simple reason, because here everything works on automation. Right? If you want to put an anchor tag, there is a click, you just enter the button, it clicks it. There is a debug. By the time you are writing all the codes and syntaxes, the program checks at the background and finds out if there is any error or any mistakes. That is called as what you see is what you get. Now there are two popular what you see, what you get editors. These are Google Web Designer and Adobe Dreamweaver. You can see the logo in the screen there. I have put a logo of Adobe Dreamweaver there. This is how somewhat the logo looks like, but these tools are not easy, they are little complex. So it is important for us to understand the text editors to ensure that we use WYSIWYG editors very easily. So that is the reason in this chapter we are only going to learn about text editors. Students, one small correction here. Empty tag and container tag, there is one thing I missed it out on, which I would like to mark it now. What you see and what you, the container tag, whenever there is an opening of an container tag, there is no oblique sign or the forward slash sign, a slight tilted line. But in the closing of the container tag, there is a forward slash or the oblique sign. Similarly, in empty tag, there is just opening and closing of angle bracket. I repeat it once again. Empty tag, you open angle bracket, write A, close angle bracket, your syntax is completed. But in container tag, you open angle bracket, suppose you are writing the heading, you write H1, which is the on switch, you write the command and then you put angle bracket open, the forward slash sign, which is something like this, and then H, and then again close the bracket, H1, and close the angle bracket. So that is the closing of angle bracket. So there is a small correction, please make a note of it. So we'll move further. Brings us to the end of the class today, students. So the first and foremost, the most important thing what we are going to do is we are going to study the chapter. We are going to read the chapter. Please understand that until and unless our theory is not clear, it will be difficult for us to do the practicals. So please go through the chapter, read the chapter, and this is your homework. You will be doing tick the correct option, which is question number A and B in the book itself, and answer the following question in your notebook itself, right? So these are the three homework you would be doing. A and B you will do it in the book, and next chapter, which is chapter 4, you are going to put it in the notebook. You will write answer the following, define HTML, and you will write HTML definition in your own words. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts, feel free to reach me through the comment section. So thank you, students. Stay home and stay safe.